All right, what's going on, everybody? Well, I've been listening to YouTube yesterday and today, and I was on the Roundtable podcast yesterday with D Style, Maestro, and Mike Montero, and a few other people. And topic of Tank Davis, Isaac Cruz came up, and Floyd Mayweather being interviewed during the build up to this fight. Um, a lot of media members have been interviewing Floyd Mayweather because obviously he's promoter of the fight, and they're asking him questions, and sometimes he's just you know get, bringing up topics himself without them even asking him questions about it, right? And I notice he's just talking an awful lot about Canelo Alvarez. And last time I checked, Canelo Alvarez is not fighting on Sunday. So I don't understand why he's talking so much about him. And I know a few times he was asked questions about Canelo Alvarez, but there were other times where he just brought up Canelo Alvarez's name out of the blue. Uh, and he has every right to have an opinion. Like he says, he can say whatever he wants. But my question is, and I just find it peculiar, right? And I find it interestingly peculiar, I should say, right? I just find it uh, interestingly peculiar that he would be talking about Canelo Alvarez more than he's talking about Tank Davis. Why is his mind on Canelo Alvarez more so than Tank Davis? Now, why does he care who Canelo Alvarez fights? He should be concerned about who Tank Davis fights. When you look at Canelo Alvarez's resume compared to Tank Davis's, obviously it's not even a comparison. So at the end of the day, every time that there's a Tank Davis fight, it seems like Floyd Mayweather either talks about himself or other fighters more so than Tank Davis. And you have to ask yourself, how is that helping Tank Davis? How is that being a good promoter for your fighter? Why do you care if Canelo Alvarez isn't fighting David Benavidez next, right? Why do you care if he's moving up to cruiserweight? Why do you feel the need to have to say, oh, well, the cruiserweight that he's looking to fight went to the Mayweather gym and he got banged around? Uh, why are you saying that he's ducking David Benavidez when for years people were saying that you were avoiding Manny Pacquiao and you didn't like that? So I just think, the hypocrisy and the double standards from Floyd are real. And why do you care that Javante Davis is wearing Canelo Alvarez's gloves? Why is that even important to you that he's wearing Canelo Alvarez's gloves? He wore Canelo Alvarez's gloves in the Mario Barrios fight, right? So what? He's showing Isaac Cruz support. He's shown Tank Davis support too. Uh, Calvin Ford, Tank Davis's trainer, said that before the Barrios fight, that they were thinking of Canelo Alvarez and Gerardo Davis were talking, and they were thinking of having Canelo Alvarez walk him out to the ring, and he would have done it, Canelo Alvarez, but he had some prior engagement. So Canelo Alvarez and Tank Davis have always shown each other support, and Canelo Alvarez has said on a numerous amount of occasions that he thinks Tank Davis is one of the best fighters, one of the best younger fighters out there. He also went as far as to say that one of his favorite young fighters to watch. So Canelo Alvarez has always shown Tank Davis support. He's always been a fan of Tank Davis. So just because he's showing support to Isaac Cruz, his fellow countryman, that there's something wrong with that. And you could say, B, but why do you care what Floyd Mayweather says? Well, again, I have a boxing channel. I do various boxing shows and podcasts. Tank is fighting this weekend, right? I'm not crazy about the fight, but I'm not going to bash the fight. I don't think it's a pay-per-view worthy fight, but you know what? If you want to buy the fight, then go ahead and buy the fight. I'm never going to tell anyone how to spend their dollars. But if I'm asked about a fight to give my opinion on a fight, I'm not crazy about the fight. Just like Floyd Mayweather's not crazy about Canelo Alvarez, but why care about Canelo Alvarez now? Why is that even an issue right now when you're at a press conference or you're at a media scrum trying to promote your fighter on Sunday? And I'm just not hearing you talk so much about him. I'm seeing you, I'm hearing and seeing you talk more about yourself and Canelo Alvarez than your fighter, Tank Davis. Now, why is he talking about Canelo Alvarez? Well, again, because Floyd Mayweather, to me, in my opinion, is a very insecure person. As great of a boxer as he is, as successful as a person that he is, he cannot stand to not have the limelight, right? He cannot stand to have the limelight, to not have the limelight, I should say. So Canelo Alvarez is the top fighter today. So what does he do? He has to tear him down, right? He has to try to, like Leonard Ellerbe said, anyone who's at the top, people feel the need to tear them down. You know, and then when you're asked, when you give your opinion on something, like I don't like this fight this weekend, so automatically I'm called a hater. And to me, the definition of the word hater, it's more or less turned into this. Now you don't have to agree with me. You can disagree with my opinion. But if you don't like my opinion, and if my opinion offends you, or if my opinion elicits a hostile, negative response, then all of a sudden I'm a hater because I am not giving an opinion that you like. You don't have to agree with my opinion, but why would you have animosity, or why would you have ill will towards my opinion? Why should my opinion bother you? Why do you hate my opinion? So really, who's the hater, me or you? Just because you don't like what I'm saying, right? You don't have to agree with what I'm saying. We can have a disagreement. That's fine. But why do you have to hate what I'm saying? Why do you have to dislike what I'm saying? Why do you have to be angry at me for things I'm saying because they don't fall in line with what you're saying? So who's really the hater? So that's what the word hater has become. It's crazy because as a consumer, we give our opinions on a numerous amount of things, whether it be products, whether it be food, whether it be clothes, whether it be cell phones, whatever you have. People say, well, I'm thinking about getting a new cell phone. I'm thinking about buying this phone. What do you think of this phone? And you have an opinion on it because you used it. This is what I like about it. This is what I don't like about it. So you're just giving your opinion on something, and everyone does that, right? But if someone's asking you an opinion on a cell phone, and all of a sudden you stop bringing up, yeah, that phone's okay, but that restaurant I ate at last week sucks. Like, you're changing the subject because no one's talking about that restaurant you ate at last week, right? No one's talking about that restaurant you ate at last week. They're asking you about the phone. So you're there to promote your fighter. You're not there to talk about Canelo Alvarez. And I know he was asked a question, one or two questions. I think like one question about Canelo Alvarez. But then he goes off and starts talking about things that had nothing to do with the question about Canelo Alvarez. If someone asks you your opinion on Canelo Alvarez is moving up to cruiserweight, that's fine. You could say, I don't like the fight, whatever. And that's that. Right. But then you go off and you start talking about it's the steroid, like the clenbuterol, saying he's a steroid cheat, saying he's the same fighter, this, that, and the third, talking about, oh, well, he's no better than when he fought me. And that's like, no one's asking you that question. Like no one asked you about his gloves. Why about Tank Davis wearing his gloves? No one asked you about that. Right. So why are those things important? And then you may say, Beeble, why do you care about that? Well, once again, I'm a boxing channel. I talk about boxing, and his fighter that he promotes is fighting this weekend. So I would think that he would be talking more about his fighter than all these other things. So when you look at all these videos with Floyd Mayweather, the titles are pertaining to himself and Canelo Alvarez. You don't hear too many or see too many titles with Gervonta Davis's name in them, linked up with Floyd Mayweather, right? So it seems to me like it's always about himself, or he's always trying to tear down the person who's getting the shine at that moment. So right now, Canelo Alvarez just came off, becoming undisputed champion. He's the star of the sport, right? So Floyd Mayweather is jealous. Seems to be jealous because he's not in the limelight anymore. He has to always be in the limelight. He can never just pass the torch and give the shine to somebody else. He never can. You never can, because he knows Canelo Alvarez is right now currently is the face of boxing. He knows that. He knows that. And then, when he talked about Teofimo Lopez, obviously, he's going to give Teofimo Lopez credit because now Teofimo Lopez lost. So Teofimo Lopez is not a threat anymore. Like, he's not that guy getting the shine. But before he lost, you heard Leonard Ellerbe and everyone over there at Mayweather Promotions and PBC saying, oh, well, he can't sell this, he can't sell that, we don't need to fight him. But now that he lost, all of a sudden, well, I'm not going to say anything bad about him. Yeah, because he lost now. So now that's another guy that you don't have to fight, and that's another guy you don't have to worry about. That's another guy that's not, stealing any shine from you. So he's not a threat anymore. But Canelo Alvarez, instead of just passing the torch to Canelo Alvarez and just saying, yeah, he's a great fighter, whatever. Now there's the need, because Canelo Alvarez is getting all this attention. Now there's the need to kind of tear him down. And if you don't think that Canelo Alvarez is the best fighter in the world, that's fine. But if you're going out of your way and bringing up things and talking about things that you're not really asked about, it just seems like he's very salty towards Canelo Alvarez because he's the one who's getting all this attention now, right? And I noticed that every time like there's a big fight on the horizon, or something big's coming up, or some fighter's getting a lot of attention, it's always convenient that that's when Floyd starts tweeting out his things and starts trying to grab a headline. And no one else can shine. He can't just fade away and fall back into the sunset. He has to always try to keep his name in the headline, right? Like Michael Jordan, he did The Last Dance, whatever. So obviously people are interested in that. But how many headlines you see now about Michael Jordan? Of course, you're seeing it now because Scottie Pippen's taking shots at him. But Michael Jordan has his legacy, has his place in the history of the sport. When he's asked about who's the best player, he says, I don't want to insult the legends. I don't want to insult the legends. I don't want to, make it about me. That's, you can't really compare eras. It's up to people who they want to say who the best is. Floyd Mayweather basically always wants to, like I said, he always wants to be the star of the show. He always wants to be the star of the show. That's what he wants to do. He always wants to be the guy getting the attention. He always wants to be the main focus, when he shouldn't be the main focus this weekend. He shouldn't be. So that's the thing, And again, if you don't like the fight, and you say you're not crazy about the fight, and then people are calling you a hater because you're saying you don't like the fight, then my response to that is, why do they care what you like? If you're not interested in the fight, then and someone asks you about the fight and you just say you're not crazy about it, you don't think it's a great fight, you don't think it's pay-per-view worthy, that's it. It's not like I'm not going around telling people, oh, don't buy that fight. I'm not speaking out against the fight. I'm just saying I don't think it's a pay-per-view fight, and I'm not buying it. That's the way I look at it. I'm not going to buy the fight. And I have a right to have an opinion if I want to have an opinion, because let me just tell you this. I bought Canelo Plant. I bought Ruiz Arreola. I bought Porter Crawford. I bought Paul versus Mayweather. I bought Paul versus Woodley. I bought Wilder Fury 3. I'm going to be buying Jake Paul versus Fury. I'm going to be buying Manny Pacquiao. I actually bought Pacquiao versus Ugas, right? I'm not going to buy Martin versus Ortiz, and I'm not going to buy Tank's pay-per-view this weekend. I'm just not, because I've spent $610 alone this year in pay-per-view, right? I've spent $610 alone in pay-per-view. That's what I spent. So I'm a consumer. I have a right to have an opinion, and I have a right to speak out about what I think is worth what. Just like anything else. If you ask my opinion on a particular brand of cell phone or sneakers or whatever, do you like these? And I say I don't like them. If I wore sneakers and they gave me blisters, and I said I don't like these sneakers because they gave me blisters, does that mean I hate this? I'm just being a hater on the brand of the sneakers? No. So I've seen other fights, and I've paid for fights like Wilder Fury 3, which I thought was a pay-per-view fight, right? I paid for Porter Crawford. Did I think that was a pay-per-view fight? No, but I wanted to see it. I paid for Pacquiao Ugas because I wanted to see it. You could argue, anyone can argue whether a fight is pay-per-view worthy. But if you come out and say, well, you know what, I don't think that fight's pay-per-view worthy, then someone calls you, oh, you're just being a hater. No, I'm just giving you my opinion. You're the one being a hater because it offends you that I don't like a fight that you like. You just can't accept the fact that maybe I don't like the same thing you like. I don't think something is worth what you think it's worth. It's just a difference of opinion. So that's bullshit when people have to always come out and challenge you and attack your opinion. You can disagree with me all you want, but don't attack my opinion. Don't tell me that I have my opinion because it's emotional. I have an emotional attachment against or for somebody. That's why I have this opinion. I mean, that's bullshit. I just don't agree with it. So just, let's look. Let's look at all the pay-per-views that we've had this year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Before the year's out, we're going to have 10 pay-per-views, right? Back in the day, when Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather were at the top of their sports, right? We would have maybe 3 or 4 pay-per-views a year. Pay-per-view was reserved. Like Ring IQ said in his video, he made a great point. He said back in the day, pay-per-views were for the big fights. We had maybe 2 or 3 a year, sometimes 4. If Manny Pacquiao fought twice and Floyd fought twice, you could have 4 pay-per-views, but a lot of times you'd have in between 2 and 3 pay-per-views a year. But now now the market definitely is oversaturated. 1, 2, like 10 to 11, 12, sometimes 12 pay-per-views. I'd say about 10 pay-per-views this year. And I just don't agree with it. I just think they're I don't agree with the business model. I don't see how this is going to make the sport better. You're putting Tank on pay-per-view. It's probably going to sell 130 to 150,000 pay-per-view buys. If you put him on Showtime, maybe 800,000 to 1.5 million people would watch him. If you put him on Fox, maybe 2 million to 3 million people would watch him. So I don't understand. Like I could subscribe to DAZN ESPN Plus, pay $172 a year, and get better fights than I'm getting on pay-per-view. So for me to sit there and agree that these are pay-per-view worthy fights, and if I say they're not, then you're just going to call me a hater. Meanwhile, I spent $610 this year on pay-per-view fights, right? Because I purchased one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. I purchased 8 pay-per-views this year. And guess what? Enough is enough. Enough is enough. I'm not going to continue to buy these pay-per-views. I just can't do it. Stupid. It's just not worth it. So I don't see and agree with the business model. But again, if you guys want to buy these pay-per-views, if you think these fights are pay-per-view worthy, but I like Ring IQ also said, I watched a couple of his streams recently. If you aren't buying the pay-per-view and then you're sitting there criticizing me for criticizing the fight for being on pay-per-view and you're not even buying it yourself, which I suspect he's correct. I do not think a lot of these people are buying the pay-per-views. I just don't, because the numbers aren't reflecting that they are. They're just not. So if we're going to lower the bar like we've already had, because certain people have lowered the bar for their favorite fighters, when we've seen Canelo Alvarez do 800,000 pay-per-view buys, we've seen Fury and Wilder do I think 600,000 pay-per-view buys in this third fight and 850,000 pay-per-view buys in their second fight, right? We're seeing Anthony Joshua do 1.5 million over in the UK, in a smaller country, right? We're seeing that. So I have to compare Tank, to these guys. I have to compare Tank to Anthony Joshua, Canelo Alvarez, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and even Errol Spence. I think pulled in 350,000 pay-per-view buys, right? So I have to assess this fight, and I have to be honest about it. I'm more interested this weekend in Haney versus Diaz than I am in Tank versus Isaac Cruz. I just am. And by me saying that, you want to call me a hater? Guilty as charged, because the definition of hater, in my opinion, is I have an opinion that you don't like, and it bothers you that I have this opinion. Your emotion, and it elicits an emotional response out of you in a negative way, because I have an opinion that you don't share, and it makes you angry and it bothers you. So if you're going to sit there and comment on my video, on the video, calling me a hater, saying, "Oh, why don't you like this? Why don't you like that? You don't like this fight, but you like that fight." Yeah, because it's my opinion. I like what I like. I don't have to like what you like. You don't have to like what I like. You don't have to like what I like. But I don't understand, if you're promoting a fight this weekend, why are you talking about Canelo Alvarez and why are you talking about yourself so much? If someone asked me about Canelo Alvarez and I was the promoter of Tank Davis, I would just give a short answer. I wouldn't go give this expanded answer and start talking about other things about the Canelo that weren't asked. I don't have to bring up all this other stuff and worry about his saying he's not fighting David Benavidez and ducking this guy, ducking that guy. Meanwhile, he just unified, or he just became undisputed. Right. So then, Floyd was asked about Teofimo Lopez being, and then he said, well, he's undisputed. And I think Canelo Alvarez is undisputed too. Then he just goes off on this tangent about Canelo Alvarez and if you don't like the guy, you don't like the guy, right? But it's quite obvious that every time someone else is getting shine, he has to always try and discredit that person who's getting the shine. Why do you care, Beeb? Well, I just find it very very interesting and very interestingly peculiar that he would behave that way. Being if you're that secure in yourself and you've accomplished so many things and you have all the money in the world, you're the most successful boxer in the history of the sport. Why would you like I just can't understand it. Like I can't fathom. I just find it bizarre. I just find it bizarre that you just can't fade into the sunset and let these other guys just get the shine. And he'll sit there and say that Tank's a star and Tank's this, Tank's that. But every time Tank has a fight, you're always talking about Canelo Alvarez or yourself or someone else who's the flavor of the month at that particular time. I don't understand. I just don't understand how he can't put more energy in promoting Tank than he does worrying about all these other things. I just find it bizarre. And then he says PBC should be called Pretty Boy Champions. Basically saying that he's PBC, that he's PBC, right? You know, I hate the tribalism in the sport. I don't like it, but I have to be honest. Yeah, PBC and Top Rank, they collaborated twice this year, right? They collaborated twice this year. You had Crawford versus Porter, and you had Fury versus Wilder. But when you have a guy like Floyd Mayweather saying we have enough fighters over here, we don't have to fight those other guys, right? When you have guys like Errol Spence, you have guys like Tank Davis, right? And you have guys like Jamal Charlo, right? Where the biggest fights in their respective divisions would be against fighters from other promotional companies. And you got Floyd Mayweather and Leonard Ellerbe saying, well, you know what? These guys don't have to fight those guys. It doesn't matter. I just don't see how that's going to help the sport grow. I don't see how that's going to make the fighters better. If you continue to fight a certain level of opposition and you don't challenge yourself as a fighter, I know, and again, I know it's about the money. You're not going to sit there and tell me that Charlo wouldn't make more money fighting a Golovkin or an Andre than he would fighting a Montiel. He won't even fight David Benavidez. What's up, everybody in the chat? What's up, Alexis? What's up, Boxing Republic? Joe Lopez, Centurion Son, AMG, Sanchingon. Luis Reyes, what's up, brother? Comic Ozzy. What's up, everybody? How you guys doing? But yeah, so you know, when it's hard to not be critical of PBC because there's just so many bigger fights that could be made. Now, yes, they did. You did get Crawford versus Porter. You did get Wilder Fury 3. But you're not getting Spence versus Crawford. You're not getting Tank. You're not getting Tank versus you weren't getting Tank versus Devin Haney. You weren't getting Tank versus Teofimo Lopez when he was the champion. You may not even get Tank versus Kambosos. Right? So you're not getting those fights that you want. And you're not getting the fights that the fighters should want. You're not getting the fights that the promoters should want. But then you're being told someone's a superstar, someone's a pay-per-view star, and you're looking at the numbers, and it just doesn't add up. And then you have a guy in Floyd Mayweather who's talking more about Canelo Alvarez than himself, and and I don't see how that's beneficial towards this fighter. Well, why do you care, B? Because I'm a fan of the sport. I talk about the sport. I do podcasts. I do videos regularly, and I have an opinion. Have an opinion. And if you want to buy that pay per view on Sunday, fine. I mean, I don't think that's not that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if I tell you I don't think that fight's pay per view worthy, then I don't need you to tell me that I'm a hater either, because it's. I think your opinion is misplaced and it's inaccurate. You know. So when I look on YouTube and I'm seeing these headlines with Floyd Mayweather's name in it, and he's the promoter of the fight, and I'm looking at these titles. Floyd Mayweather unloads on Canelo over steroid usage. All right, fine. I mean, that's old news. It's already been addressed. Whatever. I mean, again, that's probably going to follow Canelo on for the rest of his career. That's fine. Here's another video. Canelo Alvarez is ducking David Benavidez, Floyd Mayweather says. Floyd Mayweather speaks from the heart on the best thing about my career. Floyd Mayweather is not happy about Gervonta Davis wearing Canelo Alvarez's gloves. I mean, you're the promoter of Tank Davis. What about Floyd Mayweather thinks Tank Davis is this or Tank Davis is that? Instead of worrying about what kind of gloves he's wearing, instead of worrying about Canelo Alvarez, the whole steroid thing or the, clenbuterol thing, instead of worrying about Canelo Alvarez fighting David Benavidez, instead of worrying about Canelo Alvarez moving up to cruiserweight and you don't like the fight, how is that helping your fighter? I heard that too, JC. He said Canelo sent him a pair of gloves before the fight. Yeah, I mean, again, these guys have a relationship. They've shown each other support in the past, right? They've shown each other support in the past. So here's another one. Floyd Mayweather gets choked up talking about his memory loss. Floyd Mayweather reacts to Terrence Crawford leaving Top Rank. Floyd Mayweather co-signs Manny Pacquiao presidency. Like, how is this promoting your fight? I don't understand it. I just don't get it. I don't see how this is beneficial in promoting Tank versus Isaac Cruz. I just don't. I don't get it. If anyone else, if any of you guys can explain to me if I'm wrong here, or if you guys agree or disagree with me, I feel free to drop your opinion in the comment section, because I don't understand it. I don't understand what's going on. I just don't. Again, I'm not a promoter. I'm not a boxing insider, but this just doesn't make sense to me. This does not seem like an effective way to promote a fight or a fighter. So I'm gonna put a poll in the chat, and I'm gonna ask you guys point blank: are you guys gonna buy this fight on Sunday? I'm just gonna ask you guys point blank: are you guys gonna buy this fight on Sunday? I'm curious to see who's gonna buy this fight. Yeah, let me know. Let me see. Let's see how many votes we got. We got 14 votes so far. Everyone's saying no. And again, I'm not trying to tell people not to buy it. I'm not telling people that if they buy it, it's a waste of money. I'm not here to trash the pay per view. I'm not. I'm just curious to see what the general consensus is on this fight coming up on Sunday. Guys, make sure you hit the like button. Got 46 people watching right now. I got 27 likes. Hit the like button, please. Yeah, I don't think anyone. I don't. I just don't think people are going to be buying this fight. I just don't think people are going to be interested in this fight. I think Jojo Diaz is a very live underdog on Saturday. I may lay a little something on Jojo, to be honest. Let me see. Is anyone buying this? We got 22 people. We got 100 to 0 right now. Wow, this is crazy. Nobody is buying this pay per view. This is crazy. It's bizarre. Wow. I think I'll do the. I think can I share this poll on Twitter? No, I can't. Maybe I'll do this poll on Twitter. Then Leonard Ellaby will call me a hater. Yard versus Arthur, good fight, crap odds. Where can I watch that Yard versus Arthur fight? I don't think that fight's going to be on ESPN Plus or anything. Is that on ESPN Plus? I'm wondering if that's going to be on ESPN Plus. I'm curious to see. It's a good question. Very good question. All right, guys. I think we got a pretty good weekend coming up of boxing. I like the Anthony Yard fight's pretty good. I like the Jojo Diaz fight with Devin Haney. It's a pretty solid card. But that's all I got, man. I'll talk to you guys soon. Make sure you check out the Ringside Reporter podcast every Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you check me out on the Round Table every Thursday with D-Style, myself, Maestro Boxing, and various other co-hosts. Beaver's out. Talk to y'all soon. Have a great day. Peace out, and we will talk to y'all soon.